Imagine waking up one morning to an Amber Alert. A 7-month-old baby, gone without a trace. His parents beg for help, police mobilize, neighbors join in prayer, and the nation holds its breath. But what if the terrifying truth is that there was never a kidnapping at all? What if the danger came from inside the very home where the child should have been safest? This is the heartbreaking and deeply disturbing story of baby Emmanuel Harrow, a case that has shocked the United States in recent weeks, because it is not just about a murder. It's about betrayal, abuse, and the dark side of trust. On a warm summer morning in California, the quiet buzz of a suburban neighborhood was shattered by an announcement no parent ever wants to hear. Amber Alert. Child missing. Missing infant. 7-month-old boy. Last seen at home. The missing child's name was Emmanuel Harrow. At just 7 months old, Emmanuel was the heart of his family, or so it seemed. With bright brown eyes, soft curls of hair, and the innocence of a baby who had just begun to discover the world, Emmanuel should have been safe in his parents' care. But on this day, his parents, Christian Harrow and Maria Gonzalez, were on the phone with 911, claiming that their baby had been kidnapped straight from his crib. The 911 call sounded frantic. Maria cried hysterically, telling the operator that Emmanuel was gone. Christian tried to give details but stumbled over his words, sounding distraught. Within hours, the case had all the hallmarks of a nightmare scenario. A defenseless baby stolen. In the night, desperate parents pleading for his return, and a community on edge. Police swarmed the couple's home. Detectives canvassed the neighborhood. Volunteers formed search parties, combing through alleys, parks, and wooded areas. The media wasted no time. By noon, Emmanuel's picture was on every local channel. A sweet baby boy with round cheeks and a curious gaze. Reporters gathered outside the family's home, microphones pointed, ready to capture every update. Neighbors stood by, shaken and sympathetic. "I can't imagine what they're going through," one woman told cameras. "This is every parent's worst nightmare." But while the public rallied, police were already picking up on things that didn't add up. Kidnappings are rare, especially ones without witnesses, without forced entry, and without any demand for ransom. And something about the Harrow parents' behavior felt off. For now, though, police kept those suspicions quiet. The search for Emmanuel was just beginning. Detectives quickly realized that the case was far stranger than a typical child abduction. First, the house itself told a story. Doors and windows were intact, no sign of forced entry. Emmanuel's crib, police noted, looked carefully arranged, almost staged. Blankets folded neatly as if someone wanted to show it off. Second, the parents. Statements shifted constantly. In the first version of events, they claimed Emmanuel had been seen alive around 10 p.m. But later, Maria insisted it was closer to midnight. Christian contradicted her, saying he remembered feeding the baby earlier in the evening. These weren't small slips. They were major inconsistencies that cast doubt on their account. Detectives also studied their body language. During interviews, Maria wailed loudly, but her tears often came and went on cue. Christian appeared nervous, sweating heavily, but at moments seemed oddly detached, even rehearsed. One officer later said, "It felt less like parents grieving, and more like parents performing." The inconsistencies grew sharper when investigators pulled phone records. On the night Emmanuel allegedly disappeared, Christian and Maria exchanged messages that had nothing to do with concern for their son. Instead, the texts showed frustration, arguments, and resentment. At one point, Maria wrote something chillingly vague about not being able to do this anymore. Detectives began to suspect the unthinkable, that Emmanuel's disappearance wasn't the result of an intruder, but of something much darker inside the home. Still, investigators had to tread carefully. With no body and no direct evidence, accusing parents too quickly could derail the case. So they pressed forward, tracking security cameras, interviewing relatives, and piecing together the couple's background. What emerged was troubling. Family members hinted at tension in the household. Neighbors recalled arguments, shouting, and nights when the baby cried for hours without comfort. Child welfare agencies had not been formally involved, but whispers suggested Emmanuel's short life had not been easy. The puzzle pieces were aligning toward a grim picture, and then, after 3 agonizing days, the investigation broke wide open. Police brought Christian and Maria back in for extended questioning. This time, investigators laid out the evidence: the phone records, the contradictions, the lack of physical signs of a kidnapping. For hours, the couple denied involvement. They repeated the same story. An intruder had taken Emmanuel. But under pressure, cracks began to show. Finally, Christian's resolve collapsed. In a quiet voice, he admitted the truth. Emmanuel had never been kidnapped. Instead, the baby had suffered abuse at the hands of his own parents. Detectives sat stunned as Christian described the final hours of Emmanuel's life. The baby had been crying late into the night. Both parents, exhausted and frustrated, lashed out. Emmanuel's tiny body could not withstand the force of their anger. When it became clear what had happened, they panicked. Rather than seek help or admit the truth, they concocted a lie. They staged a kidnapping to cover up the abuse, hoping to mislead police and buy themselves time. Even more horrific, Emmanuel's body was missing. The parents gave conflicting accounts of what they had done. One claimed he was left in a rural area. The other hinted at trash disposal. Detectives launched searches in fields, landfills, and waterways, but Emmanuel has not yet been recovered. The confession shattered whatever sympathy the parents had left. Just days earlier, they had stood before cameras, pleading for their son's return. Now the world knew those tears were fake. Christian and Maria were arrested on charges of murder, child abuse, and filing false police reports. The baby boy whose face had filled news broadcasts was gone. When news of the confession broke, grief turned to fury. The same community that had rallied in hope now felt betrayed. Volunteers who had searched fields in the scorching sun realized their efforts had been in vain. Neighbors who prayed for Emmanuel's safe return now wept at the cruelty of the truth. Social media exploded. Thousands of people shared Emmanuel's photo with hashtags like #Justice for Emmanuel and #ACHU Protect Our Children. Strangers lit candles and left teddy bears at makeshift memorials. Parents hugged their children tighter, haunted by the thought of what Emmanuel endured. The anger was not just about one baby. It was about the broader issue of child abuse hidden behind closed doors. How many warning signs go unnoticed? How many cries for help are dismissed as family drama? Experts weighed in, pointing out that abuse cases often escalate silently until tragedy strikes. Emmanuel's story became a rallying cry for stronger protections, earlier interventions, and more awareness. In talk shows and editorials, people demanded answers. Could Emmanuel have been saved if someone had spoken up sooner? Should neighbors or relatives have pushed harder when they sensed something was wrong? What responsibility do we all share in protecting children too young to protect themselves? Vigils continued night after night. At one, a pastor said softly, "Emmanuel's name means God with us. Though his life was short, his story will not be forgotten. It will live on as a call to action." The case was no longer just about justice. It had become a movement. Christian and Maria now face the full weight of the law. Prosecutors have charged them with first-degree murder, citing not only the abuse but also the calculated attempt to cover it up. In court, they appeared shackled, avoiding eye contact with the gallery filled with reporters, activists, and grieving citizens. Prosecutors outlined their case. The confessions, the text messages, the inconsistencies, and the sheer cruelty of the cover-up. Without Emmanuel's body, the case is more complex, but not impossible. Forensic evidence, medical testimony, and the couple's own admissions form a powerful case for conviction. If found guilty, both face the possibility of life in prison without parole. Meanwhile, the search for Emmanuel's remains continues. Specialized K-9 units, drones, and community volunteers still scour possible disposal sites. For many, closure will only come when Emmanuel is laid to rest properly. As the legal battle unfolds, one truth is painfully clear. Emmanuel's life, though tragically short, has left a lasting impact. His story has mobilized communities, sparked conversations, and forced society to look harder at the silent epidemic of child abuse. For true crime followers, it is a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest danger to a child is not a stranger in the night, but the people entrusted with their love and care. For the rest of us, it is a call to vigilance, to pay attention, to speak up, to remember that every child deserves safety, tenderness, and a chance to grow. In Emmanuel's memory, his story continues to be told, not just as a tragedy, but as a warning and a mission, because his life mattered. Emmanuel's story is a heartbreaking reminder of the innocence lost when those who should protect become the ones who harm. His short life may have ended too soon, but by telling his story, we ensure he is never forgotten. If this case moved you, consider sharing it so others can hear Emmanuel's name. And if you want to stay updated on real stories like this one, cases that deserve awareness, justice, and truth, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we cover the next story. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe, look out for one another, and I'll see you in the next video.